So Bill Cosby released from prison after the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned his sex assault conviction. This was a surprise to many. Pennsylvania's highest court threw out Bill Cosby's conviction and released him from prison yesterday in this stunning reversal. Man, you can be smashed up against the rocks on the shore in 1 minute, and the next minute you are riding in the sail with the wind at your back, floating on. That is what has happened here. The comedian once known as America's Dad, Bill Cosby, is 83 years old and served nearly 3 years of a 3 to 10 year sentence after being found guilty of drugging and violating Temple University sports administrator Andrea Constand, supposedly at his suburban Philadelphia home in 2004. Cosby was the first celebrity casualty of the hashtag Me Too era. So this case here, some folks are bent out of shape about this. Some folks don't understand what happened. This thing was doomed to fail from the beginning. Doomed to fail. Why? Because what happened here is one of the foundational pillars of the Constitution and the rights given. And it's about honoring a commitment. It's one of those things that's kind of like a catch-22. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. We're going to go into that a little bit deeper. So the former star of the Cosby Show was arrested in 2015 when a district attorney, armed with newly unsealed evidence, the comic's damaging deposition testimony. You've seen this. This deposition testimony in a civil lawsuit which was brought by Constant brought charges against him days before the 12-year statute of limitations ran out. So she had a civil case against him. And through the whole mess of the civil case, prosecutors made a deal with Cosby. Let's also understand this, because I've said this from the beginning about this being about money. Sometimes folks that allegedly have assault and are chasing some money tend to link themselves to folks who actually had real assault happen to them as a way to mask their quest for money. She's been paid and was paid $3 million. She already got paid. Now, whether or not other women were assaulted or not is not the case here, except for the fact that they used these women as part of this miscarriage of justice. Because if you want to talk about justice, he would not have made the deposition if he did not have the deal in place that said that they would not use the deposition against him. You take the deposition out, and it's just her word against his. Same thing it is with any of these other accusers. So you have your word against his. That's not proof. None of these girls have proof. They just have their word against his, and he said he didn't do it. So what happens here in this situation, they don't have evidence, so they make a deal with him. Look, do this, pay this money, this goes away. So he does it on the pretext that it's not going to be used against him. Charges would not be filed. This was a civil case. So he goes up and he says whatever he said. She's paid money, because that's the real source of everything here. She's paid money. He says the things that he said. The end, right? So he thought. Then another DA comes into office on the platform that he's going to prosecute Cosby. That was on the platform that we're going to prosecute Cosby, right? New DA comes in, new DA gets elected. Then they turn around and violate the deal that Cosby was given and use the damaging deposition testimony, except for the fact that it, as far as you're concerned, it shouldn't even exist. It should not even be used based on the deal. If this country does not honor the deals that it makes with folks, how can you expect them to turn on people? That would be at the foundation of the Trump Weisselberg Trump organization case. If they make a deal with Weisselberg and then and they don't honor these deals, people are not going to want to make deals with you. This is a fundamental thing. This is a fundamental thing. Words that you say cannot be used against you in a court of law. They say that all the time, right? You take these words that Trump said, that Cosby said, away, there's no case here, which is why they made the deal in the first place. He has to do 3 years in jail. She should have to give back that money. She should have to give back that money. There are real women who dealt with real abuse, who will never get their day in court. And when women or men try to tie it in that this is such a devastating time for them, so they see Bill Cosby in jail, and for some reason they feel better about their case. If something happened to you, come forward. I'm not just talking about Bill Cosby, whatever. Come forward. But all the women collectively cannot focus their energy, and they rise and fall with the fact that Cosby's in jail. Cosby's not in jail. I won't be able to sleep at night. Really? Cosby didn't do nothing to you. And allegedly, he did something to these women. Allegedly. Who knows? I don't know. I wasn't there. Neither were you. Neither were you. So this is not saying his guilt or innocence. The only thing that this says is that charges should not have been brought, and this deposition should not have been used. Oh, pretty much the end. Guilt or innocence in this instance doesn't even matter. They're saying we shouldn't even have been here in the first place. The court called Bill Cosby's arrest an affront to fundamental fairness, particularly when it results in a criminal prosecution that was foregone for more than a decade. Talk about Throwback Thursday. Oh, and she was paid, by the way. just so this could go away. Yeah, get the money, go away. And then they come back and use that stuff. The prosecutors knew this was going to happen. And they tried to let him out early, dangle something in his face where he would go to some kind of sexual predator classes or some foolishness like that. Because they would want to point to the fact that, well, he's gone to the classes, he's admitting that he did something wrong. They tried that. They tried it. Cosby was strong enough to say, nah, I'm good. I didn't do anything wrong. His story has not changed. So we denied that, and we reported that a few months ago. His bail, his release was denied, right? That's because it came with strings attached, and he did not go with it. Smart for him. Very smart for him. Then this comes. The court called Cosby's arrest an affront to fundamental fairness. Those are very strong words. So people are saying they're talking about whether he did it or not. Here's the thing. They're saying the fact that they even pursued this at all is an affront to fundamental fairness. That's foundational. What fairness is built on, they're saying. We don't even have to talk about whether or not you think that he's guilty. We shouldn't even been sitting in the courtroom at all based on that previous deal. So Cosby was set free from state prison. Now here's the thing. When they want to set you free, they can set you free. Sometimes people get found innocent and they still not set free. But in this instance, Cosby was set free from state prison, and this should have never been brought to trial, prosecuted for these alleged offenses. District attorneys can't change it up simply because of their political motivation. They said that Cosby remains in excellent health apart from being legally blind. So he's lost enough sight that he is categorized as legally blind. I'm sure he can see a little bit. So the other side is trying to say that this was a procedural issue. All right? This decision does not dampen the reporting of sexual assault by victims. This sexual assault was reported, but they did not have proof. It was reported. A lot of things are reported. Just because it was reported does not make it so. Now, in this instance, that's like, let's use another example. Let's use the example of an informant for the mob. The informant for the mob makes a deal with the prosecutors who are trying to take down the mafia bosses. And they say, look, we will protect you if you give us this information. Then they give the information, and then they don't protect the informant. Because, somebody new is supervising the witness protection program. And they say, oh, no, we're not going to protect you. You work for the mob. But the information that they they got from him, of course, they still used that. You can't take that stuff away. A deal was made, but it was not honored. That's what this is an example of. Now, unfortunately, we're talking about sexual assault victims, alleged assault. You don't get this conviction without his testimony in the deposition. And he would not have done the deposition if he did not have the promise that he would not be charged. So you can't use it. Not only can you not use it, the deal, which was an excellent deal, but they made the deal because they didn't have any evidence. Without making that deal, she wouldn't have gotten $3 million. Nothing happens. So many times elected officials make their bones by putting somebody in jail. They want to do this at any cost, even at the cost of foundational fairness. Felicia Rashad, Bill Cosby's co-star on the Cosby Show, tweeted out this, all caps: "Finally, a terrible wrong has been righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected!" Exclamation point. That was Felicia Rashad. Now, of course, Me Too, advocates are furious at this news. And that's because a lot of these advocates were actually assaulted. And because some accusers clung to this movement, some people that were actually assaulted feel a connection with anyone who reports stuff, because stuff really happened to them. They assume that every time somebody reports something that it was the truth. So they become emotionally involved. And the accusations, whether they're right or wrong or true or false, the person who was actually assaulted connects with them emotionally. So 4 judges formed the majority that ruled in Cosby's favor, while 3 others dissented in whole or in part. Even though Cosby was charged only with the assault of Constand, the trial judge allowed 5 other accusers to testify that they too were similarly victimized by Cosby in the 80s. Prosecutors called them as witnesses to establish what they said was a pattern of criminal behavior on Cosby's part. This whole thing was slanted. The court declined to say whether 5 other accusers should have been allowed to testify, considering it moot point, given the finding that Cosby should have never been prosecuted in the first place. This was the right decision. I just wish that he didn't have to give up almost 3 years of his life before it came to be. I think that Cosby has a case against Pennsylvania. He should not have been charged in the first place based on a deal that one of your representatives made. He lost 3 years of his life. Whoa, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that fact. Prosecutors said repeatedly that he used his fame and family man persona to manipulate young women, holding himself out as a mentor before betraying them. Okay, prove that. Prove that. Oh, you can't prove it? Okay. And it goes on. Cosby, of course, groundbreaking black actor who grew up in public housing in Philly. Started from the bottom, now he's here. True sense of that. Made a fortune, estimated at over $400 million during his 50 years in the entertainment industry. You know, a lot of folks, he rubbed a lot of folks the wrong way as he lectured our community, the black community, about family values. And he was attempting a comeback when he was arrested. We do not typically identify sexual assault victims without their permission on this show or on Radio on Fire in general. Constrand has granted permission to be identified. So I want to put that out there. Bill Cosby released from prison. Many people counted him out, but this has turned around for him. And I think that if folks put their personal feelings aside for sexual assault in general, even the fact that they may have been sexually assaulted, and look at the fairness of this particular case, you will see and you will admit that this was the right thing. How can you not? How can you not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire. Diamond K in the morning. Here on the program, we deliver the biggest political and trending news stories of the day with interviews and original reporting from across this country. Emanating from our studios in Baltimore and Atlanta. Show is fun, show is upbeat, but also got to expose what's really happening. Radio on Fire is Black Voices giving you the American story. 8 a.m. But I don't want you to miss any of our live broadcasts that happen throughout the day. In addition to this show, we drop content as news happens. Hit that notification bell so you get an alert whenever we go live. Breaking news, adult conversations, covering topics that are important. RadioFire.com for our original podcast, radio, and TV programs. If you want to support the show, RadioFire.com/donate. I'm able to deliver our news and our views because of listeners, sponsors, and of course your donations. So whether you make a donation at RadioFire.com/donate, or you just hit the like button, the subscribe button, or the share button, you are helping the show.